also like to take this opportunity to inform you on what's going to happen in the next coming year. We're going to open a center of gender in operations together with our Norwegian friends and our Finnish friends. It's going to be located in Sweden, but the staff is going to be multinational. It's going to be our 3 nations manning this center. And you can see the tasks. We were going to run training courses. We've actually already started running them, now based on our Partnership for Peace Training Center. We will have subject matter experts to give where we can give support to others. We're going to look at our trees. We're going to keep a close eye on the network for gender issues. We are, and this is one of the most important ones, we're going to look at lessons learned, lessons identified from the fields, and collect them and spread them around so we have loads of best practice to share with the world. And we're going to do seminars and conferences, etc. Next one, please. So we already have 2 gender field advisory courses running twice a year. The focus of these courses are on lessons learned. Former gender advisors are participating as lecturers on these courses and sharing their experiences from the field. This is important also that someone who wants to apply for this applies with their own merits, and it's very important that we get the right people on board for this, at least early stages. Next one, please. I can never give a presentation without a practical example. And we've been talking a lot about that there are too few, not enough women in our missions. That's a fact. That's something that we all have on our agendas to focus on. But we can't just let that stop us from trying to get women, local women's security needs on board now, already now. So, if we can't get more women involved, well, we just have to let the men do the work for us. And here's the beauty of this. By addressing women, we increase the operational effect. By giving women information and by making sure that we have dialogue with them to get information from them on the same topics as we normally discuss with the men, we get a greater operational effectiveness. What we have to do is that we have to teach our people in our systems that women's security needs look differently than men's, and how we can meet them, how not only women but also their security needs. And one thing that I've found is that quite often men respond by saying, yes, I see this is very important. But you know, it's really difficult because I can't speak to women. Their culture prohibits me to speak to them. So I can't just walk up to a woman and start speaking to her. That would be dangerous for her. So they understand the security needs, they understand all that, but they can't do it. I would like to share with you a little story. And this one's from Afghanistan. And can you even think of a more difficult cultural environment for a man to speak to a woman in? No. It's very difficult. But we share, as I mentioned already, a PRT in Masai Sharif together with the Finns. And we have a gender advisor there. One of their tasks in the PRT is to patrol the streets of the town, and they do that twice a day. They do this twice a day. And when they do that, they have a little collection card with them, a little talking card with questions that they should ask the local population. And when one of my colleagues had been there for a couple of weeks, she had gathered a few questions that she wanted the patrols to ask women. She managed to get them onto the card, and the card was distributed in the morning, and it didn't take long before the patrol leader came to her and knocked and said, "Listen, ma'am, I've been patrolling the streets of Masala Sharif for 6 weeks now, and I can count the number of women I've seen on the streets on one hand. If you then add the filter, how many of them have I been in position to speak to? 0, none whatsoever. I will not be able to do what you're asking me to do." And he was quite frustrated because he wanted to do a good job, and he didn't feel that he had an opportunity to do this. And she thought, "That's strange," she said. "You know, I see loads of women. There's something wrong here." Anyway, they went to the intelligence section to do a little bit of drilling into this. And this is what they found. Women, especially in Masala Sharif, but most likely in all of Afghanistan, are not allowed to walk the main streets. Main streets, that's where we send our patrols. They're not allowed to walk there. Sometimes they walk there together with a male relative or for a specific purpose, but they must not under any circumstances stop and talk to someone. I mean, they're in the turf when they're not supposed to be. But after a little bit of digging, they found that 2 parallel streets up, there is a street where they have all the textile shops, where they have the beauty spas, where they have food stores, the women's turf. That's where they are. Hundreds of them, thousands of them. So they decided to send a patrol down that street instead. And the patrol leader said, "Okay, I'm now going to see women, but I want to be able to talk to them." But he said, "I got my orders, and off I go." He went out, and you can imagine his surprise. They hadn't walked far down the street until he was approached by a woman. In the burqa and everything, she came up to him and she said, "Ah, you're walking down our street. Never seen you up here before. We usually see you down there on the main street, but never up here. But it's so good that you're here because I have a question. Before, we used to see women in your patrols, but we haven't done that lately. Please tell me, do you feel the security situation has deteriorated in the town?" And so they have been looking at us, making their own assessment of the situation. Haven't had anyone to ask, but they grabbed the first opportunity. This woman knew what she was doing. She was on her street. All we had to do was change location. And I'm going to take another minute, even though Lena is probably going to start throwing things at me soon. Our patrol leader, he remembered his little talking card, and as soon as he stopped sort of staring at this woman who was talking to him, he remembered the question and he started asking her. And they started having a discussion. And she, they were talking about this, that, and the other, and in conversation she told him, there's more women than normal here right now, because you see, this coming weekend, there is this great big wedding. The local governor has decided to sponsor 25 Hazara couples. They didn't have the money to get married. So he's decided to sponsor them, and now every woman is here preparing for this great big wedding because there are going to be so many guests. And he said, "Oh yeah, so how many guests do you expect?" "Oh well, there's going to be at least 500 people coming in from the countryside." I said, 500 people? She must be wrong. And she was. They had 700 people coming in from the countryside just to be there for the wedding. This didn't come up in any of the conversations we had with the local Ladidas in Masala Sharif. This only came from this woman. And if we hadn't known about this, we could have read that situation all wrong. We could have thought 700 people just coming in one go. We could have thought the security, there must be a mass slaughter out there because people are fleeing into the city in great numbers. Or we could have thought, my God, they're attacking. Let's do something about that. We need to know, and by addressing the whole population, we get a more full picture. Well, I'm going to leave it at that. Men can do the work too. If we don't have enough women, let's use the assets we have, and they can do it just as well as we can. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Monica. We had some brilliant examples there. I'll leave you with the last panel member, Zene.